Hello folks, welcome back to the Edupedia world and I am Abhinay Gupta. So today again we'll continue with the topic, the meeting of board and its powers. So we have already covered the basic important sections in this chapter, right? The last important section that we covered was section 188. Right? We have discussed the entire provision, we have discussed the questions based on the section, right? We have also dealt with the amendments and also the exemption notification that is applicable for the private company. So all these were applicable in section 188 itself, right? So now we'll move on to some lighter sections that are remaining in this chapter. Right? We are left with very few sections, as we have already discussed in the very first lecture of this topic, that we would be covering section 173 to section 195. Right, we have covered up to section 188. Now we have just 6 sections remaining: section 189, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95. Oh, sorry, it's more than 6. Right? So, and these are very small little sections, not very relevant, not very important for your examination, but you should know them. Right? And so we'll discuss it. We'll not give a lot of time to these, and we'll be covering 2 to 3 sections in every lecture, and we'll cover it up. Right? So today we'll be covering the Section 189, Register of Contract or Arrangement in which directors are interested. Right? So if any directors are interested in any contract or arrangement, they will have to make a disclosure beforehand. Right? And the company will maintain a register for the same. So people amongst you who are doing their articleship, right? If you have ever been to the company and you were asked to either prepare the minutes or summary of the minutes or anything, where you dealt with a secretarial practice, where you had to meet the company secretary, he would have shown you the registers of the members, the registers of the directors, right? The registers where the contracts are being maintained and all these things. These things are basically kept with the company secretary. So I don't know how many of you have witnessed it, but if you haven't and you're going to the office, please go and inquire with your client that you want to see these registers. So see these registers over there. You will get a detailed knowledge, right? What will happen is you will get a practical exposure, and these things will fit into your brain. You will have a picturization of the same. When we are talking about these registers, you can see, okay, on this client I saw this register. It was a hardcover register, this color, and these were the linings, and this is the name of the director that was written. These kind of things will come to your mind, right? So let's be done with that. We'll start with the provisions. So we will be understanding this section along with the provisions of Rule 16 of the Company's Meeting of the Board and its Power Rule 2014. Right? We had seen Rule 15 along with where we had seen it. Yes, Section 188, the related party transaction. Over there we had seen, we had referred to that section along with Rule 15. So we are referring to the section along with Rule 16 now. Right? So the first thing that we need to understand is the content of the register. Right? What is to be included in the register? What is the scope of this register? So basically this contract, as we have seen by the heading, right? It is a register of contracts or arrangement in which directors are interested. So what will the register contain? It will contain the particulars of the contracts and arrangement in which they are interested. So this interest portion is divided. So first of all, they would contain all the particulars of all the contracts and arrangement which is covered by section 188, the related party transaction, because in all the related party transaction, the director will be interested. It is deemed, right? Other than those, if there is no related party transaction, still, if the director makes a disclosure, right, of his concern or interest in any contract or arrangement, which is in pursuant to section 184 subsection 2, if you remember, right? So if he has made any disclosure as per section 184 subsection 2, we would include those particulars as well in this register. So we would get into a quick recap of what we had studied in section 184 subsection 2, because that is of relevance in this section as well. So basically in section 184 subsection 2, we had seen that the director, it is the duty of the director to disclose his interest if it is in conflict with the interest of the company, in any contract or arrangement that the company is entering into or is proposed to enter into, right? But again, there was a limit, right? He would not go ahead and involve each and every detail. But if there is a body corporate in which the director holds more than 2% of the shareholding, right? Either alone or in association with some other director as well. Overall 2% of the shareholding if they are holding, then you will have to disclose if you are interested with that body corporate, right? Otherwise, if the director is the promoter, manager or the CFO of that body corporate, then you'll have to disclose. First thing, right? So what was the legal requirement of 184 subsection 2? That first thing, that the director is supposed to make a disclosure of his interest, right? Second, that disclosure is supposed to be made in the board meeting, right, in which that contract or arrangement is being discussed. Then there can also arise a situation where the contract has been discussed but the director was not interested then, but subsequently becomes interested. So in which board meeting will he disclose? Yes, he will disclose it in the subsequent board meeting, whichever is conducted, right? He would disclose what is the nature of his concern, and the most important aspect is that he will not participate in that meeting, right? So that is basically a flashback of 184 subsection 2. We are coming back to section 189. So first thing is the content of the register, all the particulars of the contract arrangement as per section 188, and where the director makes a disclosure, right? That is beyond 188 if there are other contracts as well. Next is the manner of maintenance of this register, where you have not been specified any particular manner. It is just whatever is prescribed, do it accordingly. So it is none of your concern now. So if you go by the procedure, then suppose there is a contract that is being discussed in a board meeting on 4th April, right? I'm taking an example, an hypothetical example. So in that board meeting, a director, Mr. X, comes up and says, I am interested, so I will not participate. So he has given his disclosure, right? And then the particular of this contract and arrangement will be included in that register. After the meeting is over, they will include everything in the register. Okay, the director is interested, this is what he is interested in, and blah blah blah, all the details will be recorded, and then this register will again be represented in front of the board in the subsequent board meeting. Suppose that is held on 29th May. So over there again the register will be brought in front of all the directors. Okay, we have made this inclusion that you have discussed in the previous board meeting, and now all the directors sitting over there will sign that okay, we have checked it, we have verified it, these things are, the particulars entered are correct up to their knowledge, right? So that is how it is actually maintained, right? So it is placed in the next board meeting where the directors would sign. So basically whenever a director or a key managerial person is appointed, right, they would disclose their interest in all the contracts within 30 days of their appointment. Right? He would disclose all the particulars that is required by section 184 subsection 1. Right? He would disclose whatever is his concern or interest in any company, body corporate, firm, association, whatever it is, whatever interest he has, along with whatever shareholding he has in those companies, he will disclose them. Right? And this will be done within 30 days of their appointment, that is for sure. Right? Generally, this register will always remain at the registered office. Right? That is its actual original place. It will always be present in the registered office and open for inspection during business hours. So whosoever wants to see these registers, they can come to the registered office during business hour and do the inspection, whatever they want to do. And if they want to take any copies and extract from these registers, then they can also do so by giving the prescribed fees and in the prescribed manner, right? So that will be accessible to everybody. And then it will also be placed in the when your annual general meeting starts, this register will be placed in front of everybody. So whosoever wants to see can come and see. Because normally if you don't come to the registered office to see, but if there is an annual general meeting, you are present. The shareholders are present. So those shareholders at that point of time, if they want to see, they can see it. Right? And this will remain open throughout the annual general meeting. Till when the annual general meeting continues, this register will remain open. Now, do you think that you need to record all the details of all the directors, like all the particulars of all the contracts of all the directors? That would be a little more cumbersome and a very lengthy thing, and it would be difficult for the user of that register also, because they will again have to go, okay, there are 10 of these which are not relevant, and then you found one relevant, one major one, and then again you swap through 20 that is not relevant, again you find one. That becomes a little irritating thing. Right. So as per section 189, they have given you a bandwidth, right? They have given you a limit. So if you cross the limit, record it. If you are lying below that, we consider you to be a very nominal thing, negligible thing, and so we do not mandate the inclusion of such contract. So what is the limitation given? That it says that if you enter into any sale, purchase of any goods or material, or if you are entering any service and earning money out of it, then if the value of such goods or material or service does not exceed 5 lakh, right, in the aggregate in any year, then you do not need to include it. But if your transactions, an aggregate transaction throughout the year exceeds 5 lakh, please report such transaction and such relationship and such particulars of those contracts and arrangements, right? And if the contract or arrangement has been entered into by a banking company, right, for the purpose of collection of their bill, that is the ordinary course of business. So those things need not be recorded over there, because if you go on to record such things, you will have to prepare 10-15 registers every year, right? That is a cumbersome task and that is not needed at all, right? So that is basically about the provisions. And now the only thing remaining is the punishment, and that is also very nominal and straightforward. That if you contravene, that means if you do not give your particulars, if you do not inform the company, if you do not get it included in the register, if you are not in compliance with 184, 1 and 2 also, then you will be punishable with a fine of rupees 25,000. That is it. That is a flat rate. No matter how big the company is, no matter how small the company is, no matter how many defaults you do, no matter how less defaults you do, you will have to bear a penalty of 25,000. That is it, right? So that is all about the provisions of section 189. But we will not end it over here. Yeah, obviously we will discuss one more section, but we will also discuss the rule 16 that we have mentioned in the topic, right? The rules are basically meant to support these sections, right? So rule 16 specifies, when we are talking about prescribed fees, prescribed this, prescribed that, and over here, over there, we are generally talking about the procedure in 189. But how to actually practically apply that will be given in the rules, right? So they say that the register shall be maintained in form MBP4. They'll fill up the form MBP4, and MBP4 will be attached in the register. It is not a handwritten thing. Okay, you are writing a quotation, or you are writing a paragraph, or you are just drawing columns and writing it. No, it is a definite format. MBP4 is what you will be using for this purpose. That is set by the rules. It further again refers to section 184, where they say that you would require to include the particulars of those company, transaction with those company where the director is interested in those contracts. So over there you had seen that he would only be considered to be interested if in that body corporate he holds more than 2% of the share, right? So what this rule says, that the particulars of those companies or body corporate in which the director himself or together with other people they hold 2% or less of the paid up share capital, their particulars will not be included. But yeah, if you are holding more than that, it will be. But if you are holding less than that, those particulars need not be included. That will be cumbersome. And these entries will be made as and when they occur. So whenever you identify a contract or arrangement and you identify that the director is interested, make that entry then and there, so that the entire entries that are being recorded are recorded in the chronological order, right? Because that will make it helpful for you to flip the register whenever you want. You can go back to the date when you want it, and then you can check, okay, what happened in this date, this is it. So to maintain it in chronological order, it is a requirement that it has to be updated at once. And as I discussed in the beginning of this section, that if you want to see the register, please go to the CS of your client. That company secretary will show you the register. So you know that the company secretary needs to maintain it. So it is the responsibility of the company secretary. So again, the rule 16 also says that the entry in the register shall be authenticated by a company secretary, or there can be some other person who is authorized by the board also, but in general it is a company secretary if the company has a company secretary, right? And you already know that the register will be kept with the company secretary. It will be kept at the registered office, right? Because even the CS sits at the registered office basically, right? And it will be preserved permanently. So there is no tenure that okay, after 7-8 years we'll destroy it. No, you will have to keep this record permanently till the company exists, right? And there in the provision of the section we had seen that if you want to take a copy or extract, then you can do it with prescribed fees and stuff, so that we have seen. Now the rule defines what is that prescribed amount, right? It says that first of all, if anybody has demanded an extract, that should be sent to that person within 7 days. 7 days of his demand, right? And secondly, the amount that you charge would be given in your article. There is nothing provided in law. That depends on each company as per their article. Okay, if somebody takes an extract, we'll charge this much amount. That will be given in the article. But at any point of time, that should not exceed rupees 10 per page. Obviously, Xerox is not so expensive these days, right? So that is all about Rule 16. So now I hope you are clear with the entire provision of 189 and the Rule 16. Now you know what the register is, where is it kept, how is it maintained, how is it rotated, what are the entries into it, and everything, right? Right. So the next section that we'll be covering is a very small section, right? And we'll be done with that section. That will be end of the lecture today. We'll be continuing the other sections in the next lecture. So the next section that we pick up is section 190, the contract of employment with managing director and the whole-time director, right? So basically the requirement of this section is that every company shall keep a copy of the contract that is it has entered with its managing director or the whole-time director, whatever the terms and condition in the contract, the entire contract, right? The contract that you have formed, the contract that has been signed by the company and the director, the contract on which you have your seal and stuff. So that contract you will have to maintain its copy at your registered office, so that if anybody wants to see it at any point of time, wants to inspect what are the terms and condition of this managing director or the whole-time director, they can flip through the contract and see it, right? And if they want the extract also, you will not charge any fees for that, right? For inspection also, you will not charge any fees. They can come and they can ask the company secretary, please show me the contract. The CS will show them the contract. But in any other case, if you do not enter into a contract explicitly, you say, okay, we don't need a full-fledged contract, then at least you will have to prepare a memorandum. And you know what memorandum is? Memorandum is just a little note. You prepare a note on a paper, okay, this is this, and you sign it. So that is a memorandum. So in the memorandum, you will have the terms and conditions, right? So that is when you don't have a contract in writing, you at least maintain a memorandum, and other procedures will remain the same. So instead of having a legal contract, you can also opt for a memorandum. There is no issue with that, right? And this provision is not applicable on private company, because in a private company, again, I'll go back to the same old discussion that the private company, okay, it's a closed company, we don't need these things, they are basically the owners, you know these things, right? So all you need to know is it is not applicable on the private companies, right? So a contract or a written memorandum is to be maintained at the registered office, right? And that will be open to inspection by any member. That is all about section 190. That is all it says, right? So we have other sections now, 191, 92, 93, 94, 95. 5 sections remaining. We would take maximum 2 more lectures and be done with it. And then we'll move on to the next chapter, right? So this is all for the lecture today. Stay tuned for the next lecture. Until then, this is Abhinav Gupta signing off. Thank you. Bye-bye.